Imagine waking up tomorrow to a news alert that fundamentally alters your financial reality forever. Picture seeing a number on your screen, a new exchange rate for the Iraqi Dinar. That is not just a slight adjustment, but a monumental leap, a figure that validates years of patience and turns a speculative investment into a life-changing event. This is the very dream that fuels the Dinar community, a vision of profound wealth transformation that seems too incredible to be true. And for years it has been shrouded in a fog of rumors, unverified gurus, and hopeful speculation. But what if the landscape has fundamentally shifted? What if the whispers are now being echoed in the hallowed halls of global finance? The recent World Bank report on the Iraqi economy is not just another dry, bureaucratic document filled with technical jargon and vague promises. It is, for those who know how to read between the lines of fiscal policy and institutional language, a potential seismic shockwave. This isn't about a clandestine memo or a leaked secret file. It's about reading the trajectory, connecting the dots between international pressure, Iraq's own desperate needs, and the intricate roadmap laid out by global financial institutions. The true story here isn't found in a single sentence screaming revaluation tomorrow, but in the powerful, undeniable narrative of a nation being systematically prepared for a momentous entry into the global economic stage, a re-entry that is mathematically impossible at its current, artificially suppressed currency value. For decades, the Dinar story has been one of potential, a sleeping giant crippled by war, sanctions, and political instability. The entire investment thesis has rested on the belief that this potential would one day be unlocked, that the nation's vast oil wealth and human capital would eventually force a recalibration of its currency to reflect its true intrinsic worth. The World Bank report, however, moves this thesis from the realm of pure hope into the arena of tangible, albeit complex policy. It speaks to the painstaking and often painful reforms Iraq is being compelled to undertake, reforms concerning fiscal transparency, anti-corruption measures, and the modernization of its financial infrastructure. Why does this matter? Because these are not arbitrary hoops to jump through. These are the non-negotiable prerequisites for a stable and internationally recognized currency. A nation cannot simply flip a switch and increase its currency's value 1,000-fold. The ensuing hyperinflation and economic chaos would be catastrophic. Instead, the value must be built upon a solid foundation, a foundation of trust, transparency, and productive economic capacity. The World Bank's involvement signals that this foundation is being actively and urgently constructed. The term dual revaluation that we're exploring today adds a fascinating layer of sophistication to this entire process. It suggests a mechanism far more nuanced than a simple one-time adjustment. Think of it not as a single event, but as a strategic, two-phase maneuver designed to achieve stability first and then growth. The first phase could very well be an initial, significant bump in value, a revaluation that is substantial enough to stabilize the economy, reduce the money supply needed for basic transactions, and restore a sense of national pride and fiscal normalcy. This initial jump would be the catalyst, the proof of concept that Iraq is serious. It would allow for the settlement of domestic debts, encourage saving over hoarding, and set the stage for phase two. The second phase then would be tethered to the maturation of Iraq's economic reforms and the full activation of its non-oil sectors. This creates a built-in feedback loop as Iraq succeeds in building its agricultural, industrial, and technological sectors. As it proves its stability to the world, the currency would respond accordingly, appreciating further to reflect this new, diversified economic reality. This isn't a wild theory, it's a logical, methodical approach to avoiding the pitfalls of a sudden, uncontrolled economic shock. The World Bank report, in its comprehensive assessment of Iraq's progress and remaining challenges, can be interpreted as a de facto checklist for this very process, making the concept of a dual revaluation not just a hopeful idea, but a plausible, even strategic blueprint for Iraq's financial future. The hook has been set. The groundwork is being laid not in the shadows, but in plain sight for those willing to look at the whole picture. So, if the first phase of this potential dual revaluation is about achieving a baseline of stability and correcting a historic undervaluation, then the second, more profound phase is where the true economic transformation begins, a journey from mere stability to unbridled prosperity. This second act is not merely about a higher number on a forex screen, it's about the complete and utter reinvention of the Iraqi economy itself, moving it decisively away from its crippling dependency on crude oil exports and building a resilient, modern state powered by a diversified and robust financial ecosystem. Think about what it means for a nation to have its currency truly and powerfully valued on the global stage. It suddenly makes imports of essential technology, machinery, and infrastructure components drastically cheaper. It attracts foreign direct investment, not just for resource extraction, but for building factories, technology parks, and agricultural centers because the returns, when converted back into a strong currency, are immensely profitable. This is the virtuous cycle that economic planners dream of, and a dual revaluation strategy is the perfect catalyst to ignite it. The initial revaluation provides the immediate shock therapy of stability, wiping out the inefficiencies of dealing with millions of dinar for simple transactions, while the second, conditional phase directly rewards the nation for its successful reforms, creating a powerful incentive for the government and its people to stay the course, to fight corruption, and to build tangible goods and services beyond the oil wells. This transforms the currency from a passive indicator into an active tool of national policy, a lever being pulled to guide the entire economy towards a predetermined destination of modernity and self-sufficiency. The World Bank's persistent emphasis on economic diversification, private sector development, and governance isn't just friendly advice, it's the literal instruction manual for unlocking this second phase, and their recent reporting indicates that Iraq is being graded on this very curriculum, with passing grades leading directly to a stronger, more internationally accepted dinar. This is why the report is so critical. It's a progress report on Iraq's readiness to not just have its currency revalued, to have it sustainably and powerfully transformed into a beacon of Middle Eastern economic strength. Consider the monumental challenges Iraq faces without this monetary reset. Its economy, for all its oil wealth, remains fragile, its budget perpetually tied to the volatile whims of global crude prices. This is a precarious way to run a country, and it stifles long-term planning and development. A revalued currency, particularly one on a dual track to greater strength, acts as a shield against this volatility. It injects immediate purchasing power into the nation, allowing it to finance massive infrastructure projects, overhaul its public services from healthcare to education, and provide real, tangible capital to its budding entrepreneurs without sinking deeper into debt. The psychological impact cannot be overstated either for the Iraqi people. A strong dinar is a symbol of restored national pride and sovereignty, a definitive break from the decades of conflict and economic hardship that have defined their recent history. It would signal to the world and to themselves that Iraq is open for business in a whole new way, not as a petro-state begging for investment, but as a confident, emerging market with a valuable currency that you'll want to hold for the long term. This shift in perception is priceless. It's what attracts the brightest minds back to the country. It's what encourages international corporations to set up regional headquarters in Baghdad or Erbil. And it's what allows Iraqi businesses to dream of exporting globally branded products instead of just raw materials. The dual revaluation framework makes this transition manageable. It prevents the economy from overheating after the first jump, and it gives the government and central bank the necessary time to implement the sophisticated monetary policies required to manage a strong, internationally traded currency. They are essentially building the airplane while flying it, and the dual-track approach is the safety harness ensuring they don't crash, allowing for mid-flight corrections and a controlled, steady ascent to their ultimate cruising altitude of economic prosperity and global financial integration. This isn't a random event, it's a meticulously planned surgical operation on the nation's economic heart. And the World Bank is one of the lead surgeons monitoring the vitals and ensuring the patient is ready for each critical next step. So, the blueprint is laid out and the economic rationale is clear, but the burning question that remains for every single person watching this is the timeline. When does this theoretical framework become a tangible, life-altering reality? The honest, unvarnished truth is that no one outside the highest echelons of the Iraqi government and its international partners can give you a specific date, and anyone who claims to know with certainty is not being truthful. However, what we can do is move beyond dates and focus on the catalysts, the specific milestones and events that will serve as the undeniable precursors to this financial reset. The journey now is one of vigilant observation, of watching the chessboard for the decisive moves that signal the endgame is near. The first and most critical signpost will be the formal announcement from the Central Bank of Iraq itself, likely communicated through a major international news agency like Reuters or Bloomberg, not through social media rumors or obscure forums. This announcement will be unambiguous, detailing the new exchange rate mechanism and the legal framework for the transition. Prior to that, watch for the finalization of Iraq's federal budget, which must be passed with provisions that align with the new currency value, and keep a close eye on the progression of the financial infrastructure reforms constantly highlighted by the World Bank, such as the full implementation of the electronic payment systems and the strengthening of the banking sector's anti-money laundering protocols. These are not side projects. They are the essential plumbing that must be in place before the monetary floodgates can be opened. Furthermore, political stability is the non-negotiable bedrock upon which all of this is built. A lasting and functional government coalition in Baghdad that can provide a unified front is an absolute prerequisite, as no international body will greenlight a revaluation for a nation in political chaos. The lifting of the final remnants of international sanctions and the resolution of outstanding international debt disputes will be another massive signal indicating that the global community has formally reintegrated Iraq into the economic fold. These are the concrete events you should be monitoring, turning down the volume on the daily noise and focusing your attention on these macro-level developments. This process is akin to watching a rocket launch. There is a meticulous and visible countdown sequence of system checks and fueling procedures long before the engines ever ignite. We are currently in that final pre-launch sequence where each successfully completed check brings the moment of liftoff irrevocably closer. The atmosphere is one of controlled anticipation, where every piece of positive news from Baghdad or a favorable report from the International Monetary Fund represents another switch being flipped to the go position. Your focus must shift from asking when to understanding what needs to happen next, empowering yourself with the knowledge to distinguish between meaningful progress and meaningless distraction. This journey requires not just hope, but a strategic and informed patience, recognizing that the final steps of any transformation of this magnitude are always the most delicate and the most critical. The foundation has been poured, the structure is being erected, and now we await the final inspections before the doors are officially open to a new era of prosperity for the Iraqi people and for those who had the foresight to believe in their potential. This is the moment to be diligent, to be calm, and to be ready. That is why your engagement and education right now are more critical than ever. The information landscape is cluttered, and your greatest asset is a clear, unbiased source that cuts through the noise and gives you the facts without the hype. If this breakdown has provided you with valuable context and a clearer roadmap, then you need to be part of this community. So I urge you, do not let this be a passive viewing experience. Take control of your financial intelligence right now. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because the moment there is a concrete development on any of these catalysts, you will hear it here first, delivered with the same detailed analysis and straight talk. This is your invitation to stay ahead of the curve. Subscribe now, and let's continue this journey together with clarity and confidence.